Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Marketing Inc. I have an awesome guest with me today, Karen Hite of Hite Digital. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Allie. I'm so excited to be here and to be able to connect with everybody.
So Karen and I actually just met last year at Traffic and Conversion Summit. I was speaking at the event, and she and her husband, JC, were sponsoring the VIP booth at TNC, which I thought was an awesome marketing strategy. Really put you guys in front of a lot of people, I'm sure, that you wanted to connect with and do business with. And that was where we were able to meet. And once I met the two of them, I definitely knew that they had something really special, unique, what they were doing inside their business, but also in terms of just the way that they run their business, the way that their families incorporated in their business, and ultimately what they're doing for agency owners. So before we dive in, why don't you give everybody listening or watching a little background on what you guys do at Hite Digital and what you are really providing to the agency community?
Yeah, thank you for that. So when we started Hite 5 years ago, we started as a white label agency. And so we offer all of our product fulfillment. 2 years ago, we decided to change that model into a franchise. And I feel like this last 2 years have been definitely one of the, I've lived 30 lives probably in the last 2 years just in running a franchise model. And I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to that just in running a business from scratch. So many lessons. And now, honestly, our focus is just to provide stability. So we do it in a couple of ways. We do it through the franchise where we provide a framework and we support agency owners by doing their fulfillment and providing systems and allowing them to really scale. And we also do it through events like TCS, where we're focusing on creating that stability by putting everybody in one place and just connecting and networking and learning from each other.
So we'll definitely talk about that a little bit more through the show, but I want to focus on that initial business model of being white label for agencies to the transition of actually turning this into a franchise model, which I thought was very unique. When I first spoke with you and JC about it in San Diego, I had not heard of another business that had franchised that agency model. So what was it that made you decide to go from that white label version of your business to now the franchise model of your business?
I think what we saw was the opportunity to be able to be one with people and to really partner up at a deep level. I think that being able to share the same struggles and wins and then things like that, especially with the team, and be able to focus on the same thing, I think is super powerful. What we saw in the white label space was that we had different opportunities in terms of learning, right? And so that as business owners may guide us in one way, but your fulfillment is doing another thing, but your sales coach might be doing this. So there's so many components into our journey that just being able to focus and work in one way just allows you to be able to grow and scale. And that's really the goal that we have.
So obviously for agency owners, fulfillment does tend to be one of the bigger challenges. And then obviously you've got the sales side as well. Both of those have to be working perfectly in order for you to really run a successful agency. So what do you feel like most agency owners are missing when it comes to their fulfillment and their internal operations?
I think one of the things that everybody could do better at, just like in any relationship, whether it's business or marriage or whatnot, we have to come together and to be able to understand what are the strengths that I'm bringing and what are the weaknesses that I'm bringing and just play off of that. And I think with operations and product, understanding that, okay, if you need to be able to provide a better service, because right now you may have, I don't know, let's say that your team it's small and new, well, creating a system and processes that will allow you to QA and to really provide a support for the teammates that you have is something that we need to focus on. So just understanding those two things are where your strength and weaknesses are, and just trying to balance them out.
I think a lot of people do struggle just growing a team in general, not really understanding what types of team members they need to be bringing on, really understanding what their job is once they do bring on team members to be able to manage them. And that is, again, what I think is super unique about what you guys are doing. That isn't necessarily a strength of a lot of agency owners. building that back end team can be really challenging on top of simply having the different skill sets that you either need or want to have to be able to support your clients in a variety of ways. So you have built at Hite Digital a really large team. And I think, again, that is something that not just agency owners, but business owners in general, they could learn a thing or two about the best way to do that. So in your experience of growing, how many people is currently on your team? I can't recall the exact number, but I know it's a lot.
100 plus team members right now. It's definitely a journey. So managing people is not the easiest of things. If a lot of the listeners here are doing SaaS, you probably picked that for a reason. A lot of us like going through that because we're burned out in many ways. And managing people, it's so complex. Everybody brings their own uniqueness to it, but also a lot of background to it. And so you need to be able to manage that. And I think as we have grown, we have seen the complexity of each level, managing 30 people, managing 50 people, managing 100, 150. This year, we're definitely focused on how do we hone in into the excellence. That's the word that we picked for the year, excellence. Not because we're the best at it. So I want to make sure that anytime that I jump on a podcast, I keep it real. There's so many stuff that we are focusing on making better and doing better. And I know that is the reality of many business owners. So I want to make sure that nobody comes into this thinking, oh, 150, they're perfect, they're amazing, good. No, we all have our struggles and things to work on. And it's part of why we went into business, right? To make a difference. And I think when you have a real commitment in life and you're able to understand that there's obstacles along the way, but you can overcome them by focusing on it, I think anything is doable. So yeah, I think building a team is something that it's not for the faint of heart. So if you want to have that as your goal, you don't force yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I personally have realized over the last however many years that building a team, managing a team, it is not what I truly love doing. But that opens doors for different opportunities to work with different people in unique ways that do allow you to get the benefit of some of those team structures without necessarily having to be the person that manage all of that yourself. So what do you feel are some of the more important aspects of being able to build and manage a team of that size? I think obviously you're going to have some unique challenges given the number of people that you all are working with, but I think those same concepts definitely are going to apply to people who even have smaller teams.
I think number one, culture. If you don't have the culture right in your company, whether it's 5 people or 100 people, it's doomed, right? So that's something that we have seen in different levels of the company. There are some people that are more toxic than others, and you want to nip that in the bud. Like it kind of sounds harsh even for me to say that because I love people, but I do feel like you have to be in alignment if you want to move things forward. Otherwise, they won't move. And they might be amazing human beings, but it just might not be the right fit. So I think culture is number one. And then number two, I think providing the right KPIs for these people. We're actually revamping our KPIs right now. We're going remote. And so that adds another complexity to it. We've been super focused on being in person. I believe that being in person is the best way to do things. But I think also you have to be able to adapt and understand that having an office, is that part of my ego or is that an actual need for the business and weight things? So for us right now, being remote, it's going to allow a lot of opportunities for your team and to hire people from other places and not have to depend only in one location. So that's going to be a great advantage for the business. But providing KPIs for those people is going to be crucial for us to be able to function and maybe even do better than you do in person.
I fully agree with you. In person is so different than remote, even though with Zoom, we are able to have so many of those same types of conversations. But I think a lot of us have either dealt with this or struggled with this as well. Several of my team members are local to me, which I really appreciate, and then several are not. But it does mean you have to be a little bit more just aggressive in terms of making sure that you have those meetings that are set, that you have those open lines of communication. And God bless you, because the thought of managing that many team members, whether it is in person or remote, is just a whole nother level to what I ultimately hope to have for my business. But again, that's the cool thing I think about what you've done in the franchise model is an agency owner who maybe is great at the sales aspect or really wants to focus on that aspect. And obviously they need to have a really strong understanding of marketing and these different services that they're providing, but your team is able to give them the manpower without necessarily requiring them to manage that on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's awesome. Another thing we talked a little bit about before we hopped on here is automation. So this is something that I focus on a lot. I train people on this. This is something you have a background in. I would assume that there are quite a few core automations that you have in place to be able to onboard, train, and manage some of these teams, as well as in that fulfillment side. So what do you think are some of the more important automations for agency owners, particularly to either have in place or to be thinking about in terms of leveraging their time, getting better results, and maybe making sure that just team communication and the flow is working as best as it possibly can?
I think that the one of the highlights in terms of automations that we've been able to play when it comes to Salesforce as a CRM that we have as choice for the actual fulfillment side, but that can be applied to anybody using any CRM, is having, like when you have your fulfillment, you have tasks that are automatically depending on what product you're using. In our case, the completion of tasks is also related to our QA processes. We actually implemented QA a year ago. And what we do is that anytime that a task is completed, there's a notification sent out to our QA team, or a project is completed. There's a notification sent out to our QA team that goes and looks at the project and where they're at. Being able to, as a QA team, to be able to go in there and check, hey, was this task completed successfully? And be able to like create a subtask based on that. And that sends a notification to our team. There's a whole environment that we've been able to build in that CRM that has allowed us to, like, when a teammate fails to complete a task successfully, it sends an automation to, hey, you need to get probably more training on this. You need to redo the task. And if they're not able to do that successfully, then they need to go through training. So we had videos already pre-recorded based on the specific tasks that they are completing. And that allows us to have this sort of like synergy between, okay, if there's not something done correctly, what is the next step? Like there should be two things. Either you're going to redo it successfully or you need to like go through training. And that allows just that continuous environment and just understanding that we have to continue to learn and train ourselves to be able to be better and better every day.
Yeah, I think that's amazing because the truth is so many times something is not necessarily done to the satisfaction of the business owner or the team leader, yet they might give feedback, but it's feedback that maybe only applies to this specific scenario. And you're right, that is a strong indication that something was missing on the training side. And instead of just saying, hey, you're not doing it right, you're taking the initiative to say, hey, what can we as a company do to provide you with the resources and the training that you need to be able to do this successfully? You are really, I think, probably building people up in a much stronger format as opposed to wrapping somebody on the wrist for not quite doing it right. You're saying, hey, we're here to help you and be able to give you what you need to really understand why this was not completed the right way the first time. So when it comes to the business owners that are working with you at Hite Digital and you are their fulfillment team, what are some of the automations or the workflows that you use with those agency owners to really have that back and forth communication, I would assume, with them as the person who's forward facing, speaking and dealing with the client versus you guys who are dealing with all of the back end fulfillment? How does that work? And what do you feel like makes that relationship work more smoothly?
Always like looking into that. What are the best ways to build that relationship? Because at the end of the day, we are building trust with these people. And what I've found that really helps is in that case of the feedback, for example, we have very specific feedback cases that anytime that they need to like share something like, hey, there's something happening here that I would like to see in a different way, we're collecting that information. And then what we do is on a monthly basis, we're able to oversee all of the feedback cases and then understand, okay, is there's a recurrence here on a teammate? on a manager, maybe because it's like several teammates from that same manager, maybe on a topic specifically, and do training based on that. But I think honestly, just having a way to communicate that is an SOP really for everybody. And for us, really is tasks. If you send something that, or you see something that needs to be done, or you're requesting something, do it through tasks, because just sending an email about it, things get missed. But the CRM is something we can track. We can see how many tasks were completed, how many tasks were not completed, if there was anything overdue. If I said to do something and to who specifically, I know there's so many people that use customer portals to be able to get their thoughts and provide knowledge also back to their clients in education forms.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. I think we're all probably guilty of this at the end of the day. Maybe we have a CRM that we use really heavily, but we're still sending emails to people, or we're sending tasks and Slack messages because we're short on time. And at the end of the day, most of those tasks end up either not actually going into the CRM, not being tracked long term, missing important details, missing deadlines. Definitely can see the value of just keeping everything in that task management platform, whatever it is that you're using, to ensure that the same processes apply every single time. So I think likely the repetitive nature of what you guys do on the back end is so critical that making sure that the same SOPs and series of steps is followed repeatedly is what helps you get that end outcome that you're looking for every single time. And I do believe most business owners don't do enough when it comes to creating their own SOPs. And so they've got a little bit here and a little bit there. And it really just makes for a more chaotic business environment in general. And then again, I think on the team member side, the person who's receiving that is really struggling because they don't have everything they need in one spot. They're having to check all these different places, and definitely can see how that would prevent things from being done to that level of excellence that you're looking for. You know, a little bit about the business that you and your husband have built together, which I find really unique because there are not that many husband and wife teams that have been able to build a business like yours and manage this number of employees and really reach the level that you have. So tell me a little bit about what it is like working so closely with your husband. I assume that is its journey itself, figuring out how the two of you work best with one another. Definitely think there's a lot of husband and wife pairs that are in business together, but even if you're not, I think it's important to really be able to have some of those same maybe communication techniques, even if your partner is not necessarily inside the business. So what is your secret there?
Oh man, secret. I feel like there's no secret there. Funny enough, it's something that we continue to work on. I think the more we go in business, the more I think complexities you go through together, the more you're able to understand, okay, like we've dealt with that before, or something like in similar terms of like level of complexity, and I've responded correctly or I responded incorrectly. So that gives you like a way to like, okay, I need to like improve in this area, that area. I think for us, something that helps is understanding that we don't work well together. So we try to make sure that anytime that there's a project or something that we need to do, there's definitely like a leader, and then there's personally the person that is going to listen to that leader. And that needs to be very clear. If that's not clear, then like we go into the marriage as equals, right? And just like working together there. And that is not really how business is, right? Like in business, somebody has to be able to make the decision and somebody has to be able to listen. And if I don't agree, that's fine, but you take the decision and we go with that. So that's one of the things that we've learned, that, hey, if we are going to go in business, we need to have our separate areas of kingdom. Open communication, that's something that I still struggle with. I'm one of those people that I bottle things in and I'm like, everything's okay until I explode. And so I'm the chillest person that you can meet. But then, you know, when the sock is on the floor, that sock just tip the volcano.
And they're completely.
So it's not about the sock, it's about the list of things that I already have.
Everything else. Yeah.
Everything else. So I've learned to, in my case, to just talk about the things that are disturbing me, even on the smallest way. And I think in partnerships and business, that is true. If there's something that you think, oh, that hurt me in this way, even though if you think it's stupid, just say it. Say it in a nice way, just so the other person is reminded of that. Because guess what? If you don't say it, it's going to happen again. You're going to continue the cycle that is very toxic, where at the end of the day, there's just so much you can take. And it's not about the sock. is about just the list of things. So understanding that, and then also remembering that at the end of the day, we are husband and wife first. Business comes second. Our kids come second. My relationship with my husband at the end of the day is the most important thing. And so putting the value where it's worth and understanding the priorities that we have in life, business can fall apart. You never know. We had COVID. We had so many things. Placing the importance in your relationship, I think that is exactly where our mind should be, because that is the long term. That's the person you're going to hopefully die with, or die before, or die later. I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know if that helps.
No, absolutely it does. And again, I think even for those that are not in business with their partner or their husband or wife, that's amazing advice. I think one of the other things that inevitably comes from bottling things up, whether it is with your partner or with your team members even, is that people do internalize the issues that they run into. And not only will you end up probably exploding at a different point in time, it also, I think, opens the door for bringing up things that happened in the past that are not relevant to the situation at hand. Whereas if you just talk about whatever issues you're dealing with as they arise, then at least you know they've been dealt with and they don't have to be something that is brought into another issue or conversation in the future. So you can just make those things a lot more productive. You have one child, two kids. I can't remember. You have two. So I just had my second a couple of months ago, and definitely adjusting to life with two kids. It's quite a bit different than it was with one, particularly because my daughter is 6 and I've gotten pretty comfortable with her being able to take, decent care of herself and do things on her own. And that is absolutely not the situation that we are back in. But running a business, you just have to do what you have to do. But your family, again, is that thing that matters the most. So what do you do, or what have you found works best to help you include your kids in your lifestyle? Everyone says balance, that work-life balance, which I don't know that it exists at all. But what do you do to just incorporate your family into your business and have everyone really feeling happy in terms of their day-to-day lives?
I deal a lot with mom guilt. I feel like I deal with that every day. When I'm in the office, I'm thinking like I should be with my kids. When I'm with my kids, I feel like I should be probably sending that other email or sending that other message that's going to result in a potential sale, blah, blah, blah. So it's something that I'm not sure if I'm the right person to respond, but what I try to do is we try to create our environment that is aligned with having our kids present at any time. I feel like that was one of the experiences that we had in our previous agency where that wasn't the case at all, where families were not welcome. And that was one of the things that we wanted to do different. We're going remote, but our office here, we have a nursery that we're not longer going to have, which is, I'm going to cry when we close that. But it has been one of the most amazing things that we've been able to do for not only for ourselves, but for our teammates to bring their kids. It's very common here in Nicaragua that you have to breastfeed, and we only have 3 months, which I think it's a lot in comparison to the US, I know. But even then, 3 months, you still have a baby. Like most moms have to go back to work in 2 weeks. I know I had to, because at that moment I couldn't afford not working. So it's a real struggle that we all have to look at our lives and look where we're at. And not everybody has the luxury of being able to spend time with their kids the way that they want to. So being able to create those little things, like, for example, we try to cut our phone usage at 4 p.m. So that way we're really focused on the kids and try to go home at that time. We work long hours. So we try to wake up really early, 4 a.m. if we want to go to the gym. So trying to allow those opportunities to just connect with our kids in a deeper way for the moment. And something that I've told myself is, it's not so much about the quantity of time that we spend together, but it's the quality of time. We could be together with them the whole day and be in our phones. But so I don't know, Allie, you'll probably tell me more about that.
No, I mean, I feel exactly the same way. My son is 3 months old and it is tough. I have been so thankful this time around that I do work from home and I am able to at least be present with him. I've been able to keep him on a nursing pillow on my lap during my calls for the last couple of months. And I think that COVID did a lot of bad, but I think the good that did come out of that was that people did start to be a lot more accepting of kids walking in on Zoom calls or just having the families around. So it's a little bit more commonplace than it used to be, for sure. And at the end of the day, I had to make the decision that I hope everyone's okay with this. If they're not, there's really nothing I can do because I'm not about to hear my baby crying in the other room and not doing anything about it. But do you feel the same way with my daughter, particularly because she's just at a different stage of life, but she always wants to play. She always wants to be with me. And I want to do as much as I can with her. So I do think that just being able to say, okay, I'm drawing the line here. I'm turning off the phone. I am making sure that my attention is fully present while I'm able to be with her or with them. It's really the only thing that you can do. But that's why I think that what you and JC have done with the Commitment Summit, which we really haven't gone into yet, is so cool. So this is your event for marketers and agency owners in Costa Rica. And I find it so incredible that this is a family-friendly event because you just do not see really anything like that at any other events. I have brought my family to different conferences in the past, but it's pretty tough for them, to be honest, when we do, because then, we're not really together. I also feel guilty in the evenings when there's networking events and things like that. I'm like, I haven't been with my family all day. I need to spend time with them. So you do end up feeling like you really have to choose between the two. And I have, again, found that it's almost more challenging at certain events that are not really family friendly to bring them because you're still separated most of the time. So what, first and foremost, led you to create the Commitment Summit in the first place? And why did you decide to make this a different type of event?
We felt that there was a need to have that sort of mastermind feeling where it's community based and it's more about coming together, really having a place to share and understand and connect with people. Because at the end of the day, that's why you go to events. Content is always amazing to be part of and to listen to, but you really go for the experiences. So that's really something that we're after. We also felt the same way. Anytime that I had to go to San Diego, I come from Nicaragua, so I have to travel hours to go to these places and leave my kids for days to be able to do that. Not every parent has that possibility. So having a place where it could feel almost like a retreat, where you're going, they can be part of that. Last year we had babies in there with their parents, but I would see some other kids running around, be with their parents. And it is a lot to take it. But if you can create an atmosphere where parents feel supported, that, yeah, it's okay to have your kid here. That's fine. My kids were on stage sometimes in the beginning. This is what life really is. And we try to pretend sometimes that we're all hustlers, that we have it all together and we work 12 hours a day. That's not the reality that is healthy for you either, right? That's not going to be long term. So for us, it's about stop pretending. That is really what normal should look like, and more of, hey, having our families in here, let's get amazing content, let's connect with people. But if I need to go at 4 p.m. and go jump in the pool with my kids, I'm able to do that too. And I can just come for the content that I need and connect with people, and having my family around too, because as a wife, before I was in the business, it was hard to see JC working for so many long hours. And there's so much stuff happening. There's so much stress that being able to be part of that journey with your spouse. Now I get to do that on a daily basis, but not every person, right? Not every couple is that way. So being able to join this and understand, wow, that is what this person is doing. My husband or my wife is accomplishing, and this is their environment, and be able to talk to people and it's yeah, that's normal. People are crazy. We're all crazy. So anyways, just creating that environment for that. I think that's what we're after. And hopefully everybody that comes joins that mission of making this more real.
I absolutely love that. I think I told you on one of our last conversations, given that my son is so young, if I wasn't able to bring my family, this wouldn't even be possible for me to attend. So the fact that I can't, and the fact that I know I'm not going to be the only person who has their family or has their kids there, it's just something totally different and unique. And I do think that you're right. We have two lives in a lot of ways. We have our life in business and we have our life at home, whether we're married, whether we have kids or not. Everyone has those two separate lives. And I think the best way to actually have that long-term fulfillment and success and not get burnt out and unhappy is to be able to marry the two together. So why don't you tell everybody listening a little bit more about the Commitment Summit and again, what led you guys to structure this the way that you have? It's in a really unique location. The format I think is quite unique. So I'd love to have you share a little bit more with them.
It's in Costa Rica. So guys, if you're around for June 18, 19, 2021, that's going to be the best time for you to come to Costa Rica. We're going to have so much fun. The speakers that we're going to have, the content is amazing. Honestly, we have designed this to be just like in business. We have so many departments that we need to look into, so many areas of the business, financial, account management, product, having leadership. John Maxwell, we were just talking about him. There's so many areas in the business that as business owners, we have to be able to maybe not be super successful at, but definitely understand and put our feet wet in all this. So this event, it's going to be very different in that sense that you're going to get as a business owner sort of what you need to have in order to excel at the different areas and connect more with people and ask them questions. Because the cool thing about the event is that not only the speakers are there, but we only have one stage and everybody's immersed in Costa Rica. So it's not like I can just go and leave right after my session. People are like, our speakers literally are coming there to spend time. The people that we're inviting, like the attendees and everybody, we're all in there. You have to eat lunch and dinner in the same areas. So it allows just more communication and just connections. I remember last year, there's so many people that were hanging with Jesse and started Kevin Harris and all these people, even more than we did as like hosts of the event. They were like hanging out in the hammocks, like smoking cigars for hours, just like having deep conversations. And that is what the beauty is of TCS. So yeah, I would love to invite everybody that it has an agency that is looking to scale, connect with us, Allie or myself. I'll be happy to talk more about this. I'm super excited, Allie, to have you in there. When I saw you and when I met you, I was like, I need to have Allie in there. I need to have your family in there. So I'm really pumped to get to know each other even more than we did in San Diego. And yes, I'm quality time together and for everybody to do the same.
Yeah. And I think you're right. For me, my conference experiences are far more impacted by the people that I meet, the conversations that I have, more than the content. And you're right, the content is super important. I was at Social Media Marketing World a couple of weeks ago. I may have only gone to 2 sessions. Granted, I love the ability to watch the recordings and things like that. But when it comes down to it, the relationships are what have always made the biggest impact in my business anyway. The people that I've met and that I've really established strong relationships with have opened doors for me in business that would likely have not been possible otherwise. And maybe they would have, but the opportunities come a lot easier. They move forward a lot quicker when the right people. And it's one of those things. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I think it's obviously both. But when you do know other people that are doing amazing things in business, that are growing, that are focused on growth and excellence, the collaboration opportunities are just incredible and unique. And most of the time, you're not trying to force those things. It just comes from having those real world conversations about life and business and family and whatever it is that you're interested in. And those relationships can become the bedrock of that next level that you reach in business. So again, I think the format of this event is so different because of it. The big conferences are great, but at the end of the day, you still likely are only conversing with a small handful of people anyway. But when you go somewhere like this, which I think you said between 200 and 250 people, that's the size of the event. This is something where you really have the opportunity. You've got the chance to really talk to a lot of them. And again, you're not leaving the resort because this is an all-inclusive resort in Costa Rica, which is also really unique. But the fact that the speakers like John Maxwell, Sarah Blakely, they're going to be there, and we're going to hopefully have the opportunity to have some really unique conversations with them as well. So anybody who is in the agency space thinking about that next conference or that next event, I think this would be amazing. So definitely check it out. Karen, where can they learn more about that?
Just go to thecommitmentsummit.com, and that's where you're going to see all the information on the speakers, the agenda, also the tickets. We have different tickets in there if you're coming by yourself, because we do have some people that are coming by themselves, or double room. And then another cool thing that we offer is concierge. So if you have 10 kids, then we can talk about that after you buy your ticket. We can schedule that out and make it easy for you. We pick you at the airport and we bring you back. So it's really a very white glove experience, besides obviously having an all-inclusive experience within the hotel. So yeah, we would love to have you. Thank you so much, Allie, for having me here and for being able to share a little bit of my journey and also this event. I'm really excited for everybody to come.
So if they want to connect with you personally or learn more about Hite Digital, where can they go?
They can go to either my Facebook, Karen Hite, or they can go to hitedigital.com and fill out a form and we'll be connecting with you.
And that's Hite, Hite. So Hite Digital and Karen Hite. Karen, thank you so much for being on the show, giving us some insights and information. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in Costa Rica soon.